This is let's find something similar here. Oops. Okay. I just got a real quick, like, this man right here has like M&M chops. I'm gonna move advanced scene switcher here. We're just gonna kind of go straight, no chicanery. So advanced scene switcher is gonna go down. We're just gonna do it straight up on the stream. We got a rap god. 7-Eleven. It's really noble.
2018, we did struggle a lot because there was
Thank
like
you for
big
that, by the
views
way.
on
Thank you.
YouTube, but we didn't have big sponsors yet.
Yeah, there's like 5 people working, and it was like really hard to get things done because there's just not enough people.
This was also like how I got
This is fine. There's no sound. I'm pausing a little bit. Did you guys hear sound after the fact? Because I had the desktop audio going. So, and the stream is on a delay, right? So like, I just do a little test.
introduced to you.
Did that make sound? And I'll just wait like a few seconds. I'm sorry, guys. I know fucking live streaming is. Yeah. That was good. All right, thanks. Appreciate that, guys.
Pepuli was like, yo, I have someone who will find us some sponsors.
So then in 2019, I was officially the head of organizational development for Swiss Beatbox. But then after Shazam left, there was a pretty big hole, and so I had a lot of marketing.
Shazam left in 2020. Corona was already.
It just
I didn't know
started.
Shazam.
Yeah.
So at that
was part of
time, I
Swiss
shifted
Beatbox.
my
I had no
focus to
idea
head
about
of
that.
marketing and business development, which is one of the reasons Spencer X mentioned my obnoxious text to him, like, "Hey, you should come be on the podcast," you know.
Yeah. In 2020, I remember I moved to Berlin. I had great hopes into Swiss Beatbox. I was like, we gotta take the next step, find an office in Berlin.
Yeah.
For me, that was like big step. I also quit my job in Munich because I was like, okay, I want to focus 100% on this project right now, because especially after.
Man, so hold on, because let's go back here. So I think it's important to kind of like to discuss the context in which this frustration is being caused, because there are a lot of people who are talking about Swiss Beatbox and the business realities, right? The fiscal difficulties of a business. But the people who are really sounding the horns here, they also made a lot of sacrifices and gambles. I mean, let's listen to that again right here.
It just started.
Yeah.
So at that time, I shifted my focus to head of marketing and business development, which is one of the reasons Spencer X mentioned my obnoxious text to him, like, "Hey, you should come be on the podcast," you know.
Yeah. In 2020, I remember I moved to Berlin. I had great hopes into Swiss Beatbox. I was like, we got to take the next step, find an office in Berlin.
Yeah.
For me, that was like big step. I also quit my job in Munich because I was like, okay, I want to focus 100% on this project right now.
That's fucking terrifying. That's so scary to do. To just like leave, and also to leave your country or your town, because like good luck having a romantic relationship if you're transient. That's hard.
Because especially after GBB 2019, I felt like we absolutely can do it. There's no way we will not succeed with this. Okay. I also remember like I think that was one of our first conversations. Like you were sitting down with me and we would negotiate about like, where is this going?
Yeah, we were just working to develop the departments, and I viewed you, as the department. Like we didn't have departments yet, right? So since you were in charge of, just the overall production and mainly the video production. Yeah. And as a fan, I'd also seen how you had taken Swiss Beatbox really, from a videography standpoint to the next level.
Thanh you.
Yeah. So that's actually one thing.
We were on.
That's one thing that I don't think gets said enough is that the work that madox does on video production, I think madox might actually be one of the most important people in the community for the work that he does, because it's him and his skills that will launch beatbox to a larger audience, because beatboxing is great and cool and all that, but having someone on the production with that skill level and understanding, it's so important. It's just essential.
On a mission, right? To take this, 5-man startup, if you look at it that way, that's how I looked at it, and create a professional organization that could last for years, that people would get, a regular monthly salary as industry standards, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So from this point, we had GBB planning 2020, and as everyone knows, Corona happened.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I felt the problems happening already before even Corona was a thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
We started having meetings for GBB 2020, and this was already like a red flag for me. I was like, okay, this is not going well. The first meetings kind of escalated. People started to get really, really personal.
People may have got up and left the country even.
Yeah. The leader of the company left the country because he wouldn't agree on opinions. For me, it would be interesting, like from your perspective, like what was your experience with him?
Well, in this phase, there's phases that it occurred. And, at first, he saw me first as a friend and someone who's a business professional, and he saw that I was successful in helping other people turn their ideas into money-making adventures. So he's like, oh, I need your help. I continuously tried to sell him this idea in business today to be transparent with the people you work with, especially the people like Madox, Juliana, Trump.
The reason I was like, a little bit is because transparency with the public is, that's been a touted idea, but it is not worth it. It's a miserable thing to do. Don't ever do it if you're in a business. But transparency with your colleagues and your employees, abso-fucking-lutely. Particularly when someone is saying you were the department, right? She just referred to as like whenever she wanted to work with Madox, she thought of him as the department. When it's that small, I'm actually a little shocked that there wasn't more transparency.
Strong people that really put in a lot of hours and don't actually get compensated fully. Anyway, I laid out this whole process with him, and on paper, he's like, yeah, I agree to this process. And we planned it all out. But then when we would go to implement the process, when I interviewed you, for example, and I came back from our interview, and you and I had come up with ideas, right, on how to run the department, he would just get really jealous. He wanted to figure out how to run a department. It was very clear to me early on that there just something wasn't quite right with his emotional ability to manage himself somehow.
I also had experiences with him. I tried to talk business to him, but he gets really, really personal and like not only taking it personally, but also like throwing words at me and
twisting your words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And trying to manipulate me. For example, in 2019, it was pretty much like 2 months after GBB, I think. We started releasing videos. I saw like this is a really successful thing.
All right. Try to fix the lag issue. I think I'm streaming at 60 FPS. Give me a second here. Again, I appreciate it, y'all. I have an entirely new system. Is it my head that's laggy, or man, I wish I could see the preview. God, it shouldn't be laggy, but because man, the streaming is it my head when it moves? Because that's just me not having a good lighting. They did say that the upload kilobytes per second is fine. Okay, awesome. I am getting some signs from OBS that it's that it's chugging a little bit. So I'll start it again, but let me know.
We're making a lot of views. But Papuni would keep talking about, we're still not making enough money, so I can pay everyone. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. I kind of can't believe it when I see the numbers.
Yeah.
But I want to believe him. I try to come up with ideas on how to make additional income. And I pitched him the idea of making like a educational platform.
Yeah, I remember.
And I remember texting him and telling him, bro, let's talk about this. I think this is a great opportunity to solve our financial issues.
And
he would not even listen to me, like to the whole idea. He blocked me for a whole month. And I remember he was like in the US somewhere. He would tell me, I'm on vacation right now. I can't talk to you. And then just ignore me for a whole month. And I was like kind of panicking because I was like, oh shit, like I was investing so much time into GBB.
I want to say this real quick, and I'm not defending this behavior. I just want to say that the stress levels of a CEO are insane. There are so many stories about Bill Gates, and I ran a nonprofit. My stress levels were unspeakable. That said, I don't think I ever I know for a fact I never ignored the people that I was working with. So that's a little sus. But just to kind of give a little scope. And play devil's advocate. It seems like I'm actually playing devil's advocate, but we'll see.
Back then, I paid like a really expensive computer to be able to edit all the videos.
Oh yeah, did SwissBeatBox pay for any of your equipment ever?
Nothing. I never got money from this.
Yeah.
Like I think my computer was 6,000 euros.
What the?
And for GBB, it took me 4 months to create all the videos, and I got paid like 5K.
Insane.
So I wasn't from the GBB money. I wasn't even able to buy a computer to edit the videos.
Okay, so in the United States we call that a 1099. And I talk to my friends in Europe who like look at 1099 and like, what the fuck is that? It's like, and it's called abusive labor. So just to commentate maybe on the structure of the business. What probably happened was Madox was treated like a contractor where all of the expenses were on him. I'm not sure if Europe has, Europe has like whatever part of Europe, and that the EU is all kinds of involved and red tapey. So I'm not sure what you guys do for contract work, but that is not an unfamiliar story.
I had to invest money that I was making in my other jobs.
Paponi always had this like idea that we can't afford to pay people. We can't afford to pay people. And I kept telling him, if the people do the work, you pay them first. And I know that's why he didn't want to do a full business plan. He wouldn't let me do financial forecasting. If he caught me doing it, he would say, oh, you're wasting your time. You need to spend more time on social media. And he would want me to make all these comments. And I'm like, a VP level marketing person should not be doing social media comments.
And we had people to do this, right? Like it was not your job.
It was frustrating as heck. We got up to, I believe, my count is right, 19 people when I was there. And each of those people, though, had agreed to work for less than the fair market value of their wage, but they just love beatbox. But there's the problem here, and it happened to you and it happened to Shazam. It's going to happen to everyone. You get burnt out. It's a recipe for disaster. People need wages, enough income to live a good life.
So I totally agree with her, and I understand just from a pragmatic point of view. Absolutely. When generally speaking, when you join a startup, you accept the fact that it's not going to be as lucrative, but you do it with you do it with the idea of having some stake in some equity. You have equity in the company. Sounds like they didn't have equity, or maybe they did, but they just disagreed with how it was being run. Again, I'm trying so hard to be devil's advocate here. My heart goes, let's keep going.
Yeah.
That's what really bothered me, is I tried to work with him for 3 years to develop fair contracts, not just for employees like us, but also to work with the artists, to pay them royalties, to pay them because we were not producing original works of our own. We were just showcasing the artist's work.
Mm-hmm.
So they deserve to be paid.
I was always confused about, like, I had access to YouTube, right?
That sounds like classic record label nonsense. I just wanted to pause the recording that I'm doing. I just want to say, hey, Zim, thanks for coming in. Let me let's get the chat real quick. I have some work to do on my live stream setup that I changed. I got a new let's do this. I got a new 3070 Ti, and I have a lot of things I can do with it. I just want to, all right. Yeah, madox and Shazam are in Germany. I think Europe is mostly the same on the whole. Yeah, I think the EU generally has the same. One of the best things, I think, just a good example of the EU, forcing Apple to use the USB-C, because Apple was making fucking hand over fist. It would be like 5 cents for them to make a cable, and it's like $30 to buy a replacement of Apple proprietary nonsense. And so that, like, in the US, every like startup was like, oh, that's proprietary, you shouldn't. Fuck Apple. I'm sorry. Fuck Apple. That is an unnecessary cost to the consumer. And that is, to me, an example of the EU doing what it is meant to do. So, anyway, I imagine they have better laws there than they do for 1099 workers in the United States. 1099 work sucks. It's awful.
Like, because I was uploading the videos, especially for like the events, GBB, the artist weeks. I would see like the estimate income, especially like after GBB, I would see numbers of like between 25K till 35K a month.
At least, yeah.
And I was like, how is this possible that only the YouTube channel makes so much money, but he's not even able to afford to pay me, the person that creates these videos, right?
He always complains, well, I don't even get a salary. I'm sacrificing so much. No, but you put dinners and trips and your girlfriend's plane tickets, I might say sometimes, on Swiss Beatbox. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with Swiss Beatbox paying some travel expenses for the CEO, of course. But, and he's admitted this to me before, that, he's a very imbalanced person. He doesn't have a social life. So instead of having friends and hanging out with friends, he goes to beatbox events all over the world. He spends money frivolously. I mean, I can say it. I mean,
so just if like, yeah, so generally, like business owners who pay themselves a salary usually compromise quite frequently on like what they take in, right? If you've paid yourself $1,000 that month, but then the business has a very serious expense, what's going to happen is you don't take $1,000 that month, if you can afford to do that. Generally speaking, if you run a business and your shit is all in that, you generally take hits when you have to. And having $35,000 a month, that's not a lot of money, not for a business. But the idea that he couldn't pay someone who's pivotal to the very origins of that income, the video editor who is making the income possible, I don't understand why you wouldn't pay that person. You know, being a CEO is hard, and doing that is hard. And maybe he was young, and maybe he didn't know what he was doing. But then all the that validates all the criticism.
I think all of us have seen him buy a $2,000 or $3,000 dinner, and then we wonder why. Yeah, why can't you pay Madox?
He would lie into my face, like we would sit in a bar. He ordered a glass of whiskey that was like 80 euros. He would just casually order a glass of whiskey for 80 euros, and then tell me, I can't pay you for the next project. You have to lower your rates. Either you do this project for this amount, or you need to leave the company. That was always the narrative.
What the fuck? So I ran a nonprofit, and I did not do a good job. Okay. I raised a lot of money, and a lot of money for me. It actually wasn't like, like in hindsight, it was not a lot of money. But it felt like a lot of money. But the first thing I did was paid the people that I relied on. And not only that, I paid people that I thought were going to do something meaningful in the future. I did not pay them a lot, but I sure as hell did not go to the events that we were making happen to order an $80 thing of whiskey. That is absurd. And to do that in the face of an employee or a contractor that you're not paying, boy, it's becoming hard to be a devil's advocate.
And I was playing this game until 2020 because I was believing that he will have a mind shift at one point. You know, at one point he will see the value that I'm creating for this company.
I thought the same thing. He argued about it, hid things, didn't want to be transparent. Finally, when he was transparent, it was not good, you know. And then he'd blame me for a lot of things. Like, why don't you go get sponsors? And I said, I'm afraid to get big sponsors like Coca-Cola and other, because I had some contacts. Those contacts need to know that we can uphold the deliverables.
You do not. If you are someone with Coca-Cola contacts, you only tell them you have something worthwhile when it's rock solid. And the question that Paponi should have been asking at that point is, how do we make it rock solid so that you feel comfortable going to Coca-Cola? That he even had a contact that had contacts with Coca-Cola is crazy. I mean, this is incredibly discouraging. I was all ready to have like, well, this is how much money an 18 million viewed short is. It's $180 on Beatbox CPMs. I shit you not, $180 for an 18 million viewed short based on the CPMs that I get. But if there is if there's a confirmation of 35 to 40 grand a month, that sounds like a lot of money. It is not a lot of money, but it is sure as hell a lot of. It's enough to pay a video editor. It makes me wonder what the travel expenses were for GBB, because that's a thing that artists are not like great at managing their money. So paying them to travel and putting them up and giving them room and board is sometimes more compelling than giving them money, particularly if they're young and they don't have a lot of experience on how to travel. But that's not what this sounds like.
And I knew our production team was maxed out already, and he wasn't paying people right. He wasn't treating people right. Yeah. So I kept telling him, in order to bring in the big bucks, you have to level up.
You have to pay people so they can make proper work.
Yeah. And if you want to work with Coca-Cola, Mercedes, Audi, whoever, then you need real professionals. You need Madox to be paid, and that's his full-time job, so he doesn't have to be stressed out and doing side work, dumb stuff. So, I mean, sorry.
I'm gonna say it right quick though. I don't think Coca-Cola or Mercedes or any of those people were ever going to see any ROI from investing into beatboxing. The idea that he had somebody, because I imagine she saw numbers. If she looks at those CPMs and says Coca-Cola would benefit as long as we level up, then she knows better, right? I don't have contacts at Coca-Cola. I run a small business where I look at YouTube analytics and CPMs for analytics, right? And I look at the market of the age demographic and how that usually pays out for beatboxing. There are not a lot of people with a lot of disposable income, but hey, the lady has Coca-Cola contacts, so what the fuck do I know? To be fair.
Sorry, your side work's cool.
To be honest, it was for me, the work I was doing in Munich, it was dumb stuff. I learned stuff there, but I wouldn't do this job if I would know that Swiss Beatbox has no future for me, you know? I did this because it was like, okay, this pays my rent. I can pay my food. I can buy equipment from this. That's why I did it. Yeah, the big goal was always, okay, one day when Swiss Beatbox is big enough, I will be inside of this company. I will get shares because
I will get shares. That's a problem. That's a problem. You got a guy working for free that you swear up and down that you cannot pay. You give them some fucking shares. Quick lesson. I am not victim blaming, right? Madox clearly is getting screwed here. But real quick lesson for any young, because there are a lot of young folks that watch this content. The best thing I ever learned in life young was make sure that your work will have ROI. Make sure that what you do will compensate you in a way that you feel, that you feel is warranted. I learned that lesson in a really, really, really messed up situation when I was a kid. I won't get into it. It was really, really twisted. And usually that's where that lesson is learned. And it sucks that it has to be learned sometimes. But this is incredibly frustrating because it's also over a topic that I don't think anyone's out here saying that they want Swiss Beatbox to fail. I don't think that's what's going on. I think that even me, I hear this, business is a hard thing to do. They broke so many barriers. It's Swiss Beatbox. Come on, they've done a lot for us. And then I'm hearing this, I'm like, God damn it. I do not want to fire shots because I don't quite know what's involved. But I will tell you this. If this is true, and I have no reason to believe that they would lie, because why would you burn that bridge? It actually doesn't make sense to burn that bridge so that your singular episode of a podcast gets 50 more bucks by the end of it. So I believe them, but God, it's so heartbreaking. That's hard to hear.
I've created so much content. This will be my life, and this will be my career then, right?
Man, I mean, the only thing that went wrong is Peponi continuously fell apart. Everyone was aware of how he was behaving at some point, and I still don't understand. It's kind of like we all just was like, we just love beatbox. We'll just look the other way. He only acts that way, 10% of the time, but like it ruins everything, that 10% of his time of his fits. And I'm talking racist slurs. I'm talking
Jesus Christ.
Very inappropriate behavior. So he's volatile. You don't know when he's going to have a meltdown. So it's just very hard to work with someone you can't trust professionally, right? To put on a presentation. I remember when we were still working together and we had a presentation to Boss for the tutorials, I think, that we were working on.
Yeah.
Instead of being a professional boss and waiting until I was done, and then we talked about it later to actually fix the problem, he starts texting me on my phone, you fucking whore, you piece of shit, just cussing me out. And I'm sitting there trying to I'm on a video call with a possible client, and I don't know if you remember that, but I had a really hard time at the very end of that call.
Holy shit. I'm going to tell you right now, okay? When I ran my thing out of college, I started a nonprofit for arts advocacy for artists that I felt were getting screwed. I did not do a good job. I did not take care of my health. But even with all of the struggles that I had personally, I found a group of people that weren't struggling, and I gave them whatever money was left of what I raised. Because that's the right thing to do. At a certain point, you are an adult and you are responsible for your health. I just want to answer to you, Evan. I think it's beyond that. That's where I was, I think, when I think that no one wants Swiss Beatbox to fail. I agree with you 100%. And I agree that, there's still people, I think it's silly, but there's still people who want to be signed on with a label so that they can focus on music and have a lot of the other business aspects be taken care of by somebody else, only to find later that that's expensive. But yeah, no, some people actually have a really good relationship with their label. I don't think this is a next step of a career. In Maddox's situation, it is. But damn, she left a tech company with Coca-Cola contacts. I would have killed. I had a guy who worked at Patron when I was doing my thing. I have a friend, and he's an amazing friend, and he even donated to the thing I was doing. And he had contacts at Patron. And oh my God, I went out there. I sang for his birthday. Yes, he paid for my flight, but I did not. I did all things. And he's my friend. I think I can say Matt. His name is Matt. I love Matt to death. Okay. And he just got me a Patron contact. Did it come through? No, because they had an agreement that would have conflicted with anything that I could have had with them. But God damn. It's fucking Coca-Cola. God damn it. Do you know what I would have done to get Coca-Cola contacts? We had this thing that happened in Philly where there was a bar who had this racist dress code, and there was this trending thing with Timberland sneakers, and I started calling every single shoe store in Philadelphia who carried Timberland, and I was saying, there's a thing here, you should ride this wave. And no one touched it. And yeah, this is my first time watching this.
I was like, I'm about to cry. Mm-hmm. And the sad thing is, we had a really good team at one point in time, is my point. I share that with you. And it hurts, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy.
I remember when we were working on the tutorials of MB14. I think this was the first time when I also worked close with Shazam. Mm-hmm. And we were back then like, oh my gosh, we could do so many amazing things. Because both of us are really creative. Shazam is really strong with social media. And I mean, he's proving it right now still with his YouTube channel, right? He left Swiss Beatbox, he built his own stuff. And we were back then like, oh my gosh, we can build so many amazing things for the community together. Because now we are also living in the...
All right, let me try to fix that. What's happening is that, let me close some windows. Hold on real quick. My internet provider is fucking shitty, so give me a second. I'll just fix that. By closing this, and then see what else I can close here. Also, you know what I should do? Here's what I should do to really fix this. This is not. It's better not be fucking Facebook. Give me a second to put this in a new tab. What I should do is I should download this, and then I can stop streaming it, and that'll fix it.
Also living in the same...
I'll fix it, and I'll just get to the same point. Again, I appreciate y'all speaking about the quality, because I have an entirely new setup, which is why I took such a big hiatus. Is that? That's a replay. All right. So it's gonna lag for just a second. Actually, I don't need to force. So I have to really quick just download the whole thing. That sounds like a lot. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. There's ways to do things. Let's just put it that way. I have methods. I have means. Yeah. Anyway, we'll chat a little bit as I try to fix this. I'll close some programs as well. Is this the one that's on? Well, I don't know why it's on Facebook. I don't fucking use Facebook. That's for grandmas who have angry opinions about politics. That should close that. Madox did a video with River too, where River shared this from his experience as a competitor and frustrations, the lack of compensation. I bet. It shatters me a little bit to see that like damn near every single person who's at the head of the community now who's killing it came out of quitting Swiss Beatbox. That's telling. I hate it. She constantly looks around. I don't know, man. This is if what she says is not true, it's career suicide. This is not something, even if someone's a giant shitlord, you do not go on an hour-long podcast talking shit about someone in the field. It can ruin your career, because even if you hate the motherfucker, and even if the person you're talking to hates the motherfucker, and there's some other people who hate the motherfucker, if there are one or two people who are decision makers who like the motherfucker, you've just fucked your career. You've whittled down your opportunities immediately in 1 hour. So I don't think she's lying. I think that there's a lot on the line for both of them. But you know that there's no way to know, right? I wasn't in the room, right? So I don't know. I don't know. It sounds involved, unfortunately. Sorry, let me just check where the download's at. 50%. Bandwidth restrictions, they're for people with basic capacities. I think it's true. I just think her involvement may have been different. Maybe she's the same way. They were all abusive relationship. Yeah, it's hard to place where she was. I think it's hard for her to place where she was in the organization from the sounds of it. This makes me feel a lot better about the fiasco that was my nonprofit. God, it's so fucking hard. And everyone hates you. This is different, though. The people, for the most part, the people that walked away frustrated with me from the nonprofit, they walked away with a show that I raised money for that they got to keep. because that was the right thing to do. And that was the nonprofit. That was the point. So as much as I fucked up on certain things, at the end of the day, it was value add. It would be like the same thing of me building Shazam's channel, then giving it to him and walking right the fuck away. Maybe I don't teach Shazam everything. Maybe I don't do a lot of shit. But they have the channel, and I made that, and I helped them build that with them. So it's not hard to do. It's not. It's hard to live it, but it is not hard to put yourself on that moral compass. I mean, we're allowed to have hot takes. You know, we're allowed to have hot takes. We're not on trial here, you know. That's a great point. I like that. I like that comment. What's important is where do we go from here? I think that that's a very hard thing to answer. Vokoda kind of, when he was on the podcast with me, kind of spilled some of his things that he thought were going to go really well for beatboxing. He didn't outline specifically, but he definitely made clear that he thinks that there are things in the community that are worth investing in, as in like taking out loans and shit like that, was what I got the impression of from him. And Vokoda is not a stupid. He's not. I hate that he deleted his entire channel. I don't advise that. But I do not think he is not business savvy. I think he knows what he's doing. Imagine being an artist where you're just like, I don't, fuck it. I'll just delete my entire YouTube channel with 1 million subs. It's like, really? Really? You gonna do that? I mean, you know, love and respect for him. Holy crap, that's ballsy. Yeah, I also had zero idea it was this bad. I thought it was like people are having fair complaints. They want things to be better. They think there are people who can do things better, and therefore we should be throwing our weight behind those people because those people are doing it slightly better than Swiss Beatbox. And even if that were the case, I'd be like, that's fair. This is business. It's competitive. If you have a competitor who is helping the scene, who's helping the beatbox scene, and they're doing it better than Swiss Beatbox, you don't owe Swiss Beatbox any loyalty. If you love beatboxing, it'd be different if you had equity or whatever. But this is not even remotely close to the case. This is, they loved it. It was what existed at the time. They were taking the L's personally and abusively. That's fucked up. It's funny that you say that, Drop, because that was another interview I had with. I'm so bad. It was an interview with two loopers, and they said like they wish they'd saved his entire channel, which I agree with. I don't know. Vokoda is just one of those people. He just doesn't seem to have any fear. 98% done with the download, by the way. So that should help a lot with the latency. I think I can actually close this once I get the timestamp. 1636. Got it. All right. Just need to check the directory. I'm glad I watched this. I was going to make this, I was going to make a video on this. Let me close the browser here. Save me bandwidth. All right. And then I have to switch the audio properties. Monitor only. That should be correct. But it is not making sound. I know for a fact this video has sound. Let's just check. Does it not have sound? How did I rip it without sound? That's nonsense. It does not have sound. I don't know how that happened. All right. Well, we'll just try with one browser open. That's abnormal for that to happen. It's very abnormal. It's like 16 or something like that. Luckily, YouTube will do me dirty. Why did he delete his channel? He thought that he wanted a new direction. That's what he wanted. He wanted a new direction, and let me also disable extensions here. He felt like what he had up on there was not up to what he wanted. That was what he said. To me, anyway. Sorry, I'm just getting this back up to where I was here. I didn't want to do this on a browser, but it looks like I don't have a choice. Okay, this should help. I closed like literally everything. Tell me if it lags again. I apologize for this, y'all. It's I fixed the computer bottleneck, but I still have an ISP issue. So here we go. Let's try this.
Also living in the same city.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pepuni was holding us back every time. And yeah, so at one point, I think it was September, October 2020, he was telling me, okay, you have to decide right now. Either you go full-time for 1,800 euros, which is below minimum wage in Germany.
Yes,
so it's
good.
even illegal to make such an offer.
Well,
either you go full-time for this amount and not even as an employee, but
so that's why the question for me comes from what's the contractor laws in the EU, because I have no idea. And let me just make it clear. It should be illegal, but in the United States we have a 1099 thing, which is the Dimash thing is big. That's a big thing. I should cover that for sure. There's probably a big market just waiting. I mean, at this point, yeah. I didn't even realize the level of talent. Did you see the previous video discussing Spencer X? No. I have been MIA. I had some family stuff I needed to take care of. I had an embarrassing moment where I did not kill a live stream, and people heard me having a moment. Because I I have a bad habit of working too much. So I took time off to deal with that. So I've been behind on a lot of this. I have to pee. It just like occurred to me. My bladder is angry, and I will not do to my bladder what Swiss Beatbox did with their budget. I won't hold it back. With that totally inappropriate statement made, I'll be right back. Oh, don't worry, Node. Demonetizing a beatbox video is negligible. Oh no, I won't make $2. I'm not bitter. I'm a little bitter. Oh, no, I mean like a handful of people knew it. That's fine. And I don't think people would hear it. It's very easy to forget people, particularly like the beatboxing audience is very, very, very young relative to my other audiences. So when I took a hiatus from my other demographics, like the gospel stuff, Halle Bailey and all that stuff with the Little Mermaid, they were like, "Where have you been?" The beatbox audience has been like, "Oh, you still exist?" Like it's a different, you know, that's relative to perspective. But yeah, don't worry about what happened. I was able to take care of it, luckily. But that's insane to me. Yeah, he did all the video editing. Also, this is what's crazy to me. So he did all the video editing, sure, okay, but he also came up and was like, "Hey, I think we should do education. I think education would bring in money." He's fucking right. How do you think you think the Reacts pay a lot of money? Like the amount of voice teacher React channels that make 0 on AdSense, but a bunch money on lessons. Music education is probably the most profitable thing you can do in music. Yeah, the fact that he created the most iconic sound opening and sequence in all of beatboxing and never got paid for it is insane. Yup. Licensing, folks, not something I would have expected a 19 or 20-year-old Maddox to have any notion of. Also, that he would, you know, the idea that you would expect a 19 or 20-year-old to be so cynical as to, you know, force a licensing contract with a passion project, a thing you believe in, like that's a silly expectation to have, you know. So it's like, this sucks. This just sucks. There's nothing about this that's good.
As a freelancer, so no health insurance, no nothing.
No executive decision-making power, which usually people at least offer that.
Yeah, no budget for equipment. Like no one would pay like my equipment that I need to work for Swiss Beatbox. Either you do this or you have to leave the company right now. And this was the point, was like, if I do this, I'm going to be homeless in 4 weeks. Because I left my job in Munich. I didn't have a new job in Berlin. It was really hard to find new jobs during Corona. I can't afford this job.
He was living in Berlin. Let's hold on real quick. Let's look up the average living cost of Berlin, because that's not cheap. That's a city. Now look at me. Look at me being a knowledgeable streamer and creating a new window to search this in so no one sees my Pornhub. I don't have a Pornhub. Never been on it. Don't know what it is. Oh, that's a family of 4. I was about to shit my pants. Man of culture. If you ever, like, real talk, if you ever look at the Pornhub releases specs or their analytics every year, and you'll find a massive correlation with what is taboo culturally for an area being the most viewed pornography, which is interesting. Okay, Single person estimated monthly cost, but like, but that does that include? Bro, what? I don't know. I'm brand safe. Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure it's even pronounced prawn. Yeah, those, if you've seen those, they're fucking amazing. They're so funny. But this is Germany. This isn't Berlin. High taxes. Oh, it's a high unemployment. Okay. Compulsory health insurance. That's not a negative. That's like compulsory. People bitch about compulsory auto insurance in the United States. You know, like, yeah, it sucks, but like, have you ever been in an auto accident? Like, that shit's expensive real quick. So if you know, if the people driving don't have insurance, like, you're just waiting for people to get fucked over en masse. There's a good race pun in there somewhere for the Arkansas statistics from Pornhub. Anyway, we're gonna switch topics now. Brand safe. Oh, your city versus Berlin. It seems like $1,000 is enough, but I'm not getting a good, like, it's the average living cost, but I'm not sure if it's like rent, food, etc. It looks like it's 63% lower than New York. Okay, so it's unaffordable. Got it. Okay. My ex lives in New York and she makes 70 grand a year and she doesn't have a savings. 29% less expensive. That's nothing. Okay, hold on. Meal in expensive restaurant. I don't care about restaurants. Okay. And what did he say he was making? He said he was making, what was the deal?
I think it was September, October. You go full time for 1,800 euros, which is below minimum wage in Germany. So it's even illegal to make such an offer.
It might not be, depending on the contract. But again, I don't know EU law. Okay, so 1,800. It looks like the average cost of living in Berlin, from what I'm finding, is about 1,000 euros, and that's not going to cover. I think that's only rent. Oh, someone came in with the knowledge drop. Thank you. 1058 a month for rent in Berlin for one person. So then you have food cost, which you'd imagine at least 200, 150 to 200 euros. Let's get a calculator out. Let's do this. Because we also have to factor in the fact that he was paying for his own equipment. Excluding rent. Holy shit. Can we, what's that based on? Can you link me that? Right. Because there's the compulsory health insurance, which to me sounds like it's out of pocket. This just sucks because I have no reference for Europe. Food, travel, etc., all but rent. Okay. So from what we have been able to gather, okay, we got 1058 for expenses. But he has a girlfriend as well. Let's say that the girlfriend is financially independent. Let's make that assumption. Let's be as generous as humanly possible. Okay. So let's walk it back. Okay. We have 150 for food. That's insane. I hope you're never going to the gym and you're just, drinking the healthiest shit drink that you can. 150 euros for food. Let's talk internet service provider. I'm going to be super generous. I imagine ISPs don't have the same monopoly in the EU that they do in the United States. Let's do 50 euros a month. Okay. Well, now you're talking, man, rent is like $1,000 from what we're seeing here. So, and it looks like there's compulsory health insurance. And here's the big thing. Here's the big thing that folks in the United States are not going to understand. The fucking taxes in Germany, in Europe in general, because of how many public services exist. We're talking, so if he gets 1,800 from Swiss Beatbox, we can assume that is going to be even let's be generous. Roughly in Canada, it's like 40% of taxes. Okay, so he has basically $1,000 to live on a month. So yeah, he can't live. He can't do it. He can't pay his internet, which he needs to be able to do his job. He certainly won't get it compensated for any of his investments at all. He has a girlfriend. Sorry, ladies. Relationships are not free. So that's like, even if you wanted to spend any money at all, food. Yeah, the average monthly net salary for Berlin is $3,000. The fact that Berlin is one of the most affordable cities across all of Europe and the United States, and it still can't work because of it's just, why would you make an ultimatum for that to the person who's bringing you the most money? That doesn't make sense. Yeah, plus traveling around. But like even if we were just the most generous people ever, and we just assumed Maddox would be willing to live in like a shithole studio apartment, never going to beatbox events ever, or doing so on a company dime and not leaving really the house otherwise. Like, that's still not enough. It's just not enough for any lifestyle in Berlin. There's nothing you can do to live at that income level. You can't do it. So when he says homeless, he's not fucking kidding.
You go full time for 1,800 euros, which is below minimum wage in Germany. So it's even illegal to make such an offer. Mm-hmm. Either you go full time for this amount, and not even as an employee, but as a freelancer. So no health insurance, nothing. Yeah.
No executive decision-making power, which usually people at least offer that.
Yeah, no budget for equipment. Like, no one would pay like my equipment that I need to work for Swiss Beatbox. Either you do this, or you have to leave the company right now. And this was the point where I was like, if I do this, I'm going to be homeless in 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. Because I left my job in Munich. I didn't have a new job in Berlin. It was really hard to find new jobs during Corona. Yeah. I can't afford this job right now. And it's impossible for me to do. And I remember you, like, we had this really uncomfortable call. It was me, and Pepuni. Like, no emotions at all. It was just like, okay, this is the end. Anything left to say? And I was like, I hope you could like at least like communicate this to the outside that I'm leaving Swiss Beatbox now, which never happened.
That's smart.
And
That's smart.
I hope that we can still at least work project wise. So I was thinking about GBB 2021, but never reached back at me whatsoever. So
yeah, dude, you and I have never even had proper talks about this, because the unfortunate truth is I do feel shamed and upset talking about it, because I did things that I'm not proud of too, like working with Andreas, because I work so closely with him. I was so scared of not getting paid. I have kids, and it was just, I don't know. It's like I was under a spell. It was weird.
It's not weird.
But
it's
anyway.
Understandable. It's understandable. When your heart is on your sleeve for a thing and you want to believe a thing, it gets to the point where it's like it's not Stockholm syndrome, but you start to normalize difficulties in order because you know that it's hard. You know that sacrifices need to be made. And these sacrifices just incrementally keep adding up. So, like, you know, in hindsight, she might look back, and other people might look back and be like, well, either she's lying or she's stupid for staying around. But you don't have all of this just slapped on, right? They were how long were they working for Swiss Beatbox? Number of years. Sounds like Madox was there for 2-3 years. These little incremental things, like they're like slights that turn into being screwed, that turn into be like, what the fuck am I doing? There's a journey for that. So like I can understand where she's coming from feeling that way because she's a mother and all that. But she's not being fair to herself. That's fucking abusive. I don't like using loaded words like that. I don't want to hate Swiss Beatbox. I want to root for them. I want the community, in my mind, to be a bunch of children who don't understand business. But they're not children anymore. Madox is a paid professional. Shazam is a professional. This woman has Coca-Cola contacts. How do you let someone with Coca-Cola contacts go? You're just like, oh, you're expendable. What the fuck is wrong with you? I am never going to have friends at Sweet Beatbox. Let's just like, hey, we're cool, right? Yeah, that's never going to happen. Holy shit.
With you, like, if I want to be really honest, I want to say in February, after we met in Berlin,
2020.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was like, Madox has got to go. I want him out of my company. His ego's too big. He's always doing what he wants. These tutorial ideas he has are ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. And he was just like, I want him out of here. I hate him. Like, and I have I will share these with you privately so you can see him, but I have screenshots of him just being like, out. I want him out. And he would say things like we'd be in meetings and I would say, hey, did you hear what Madox said? That's a good idea. And he'd say, I don't give a fuck what he has to say. I'm not looking at his face ever again. You know?
This is stupid. That's so stupid. I didn't like working with a lot of people that I had to work with. I still don't work. Like when you run a business, you eat shit and you do what you have to do. There are people I don't like to work with. There's topics I don't like to talk about. But I have to, like, not all the time, but I have to do that. He turned down, this is someone in chat here, Paponi ignored a message from McDonald's. Give me that McDonald's money. I want some McDonald's money. I want to be so rich that I can vilify someone that I gave third-degree burn to. I want that kind of money. I want that McDonald's money. And oh my God, this is insane. Also, hold on. This is not done. Let's talk about music education as a profitable idea because it is objectively the most lucrative part of music, of any. I think of any. Let me just double check that. But music education is like super high up in terms of the amount of money that's made in music as a category. As a sector, rather. Let me real quick. There we go. This is actually pertinent. Let me double check the source here, but this looks like it's reliable. Okay, this is from Yahoo Finances. The global online education market is estimated to be basically almost $1 billion. So it's $1 billion. You know, and he's not like, no one else is doing it. No one else. Professional beatboxers are like offering lessons like with links in their Instagram. And they have all of these artists that are giving them all of this shit for free. They have sponsors. Madox is right. If they do music education, all of a sudden this is the business is solvent. My head fucking hurts. This is insane. Let's look at the MB14 one. The MB14 tutorial. First of all, that's a great thumbnail. That's a great thumbnail. Wildly inappropriate. Okay. What does this have? Wow. Okay, so right here we have 30 videos from an artist whose popularity just continues to be on the rise. So right now, not only do you have the videos that are bringing in money, you have basically the brand endorsement. MB14 as an influencer, as a brand, is endorsing your channel by being on it. Then you also have a featured product, a sponsor product, you know, going in to this as well. The RC505 and Boss as in general is seeing the value of your business. And he did this. This is Madox's idea. And he could have run with this and they would have made a lot of money. My mentor, the one who taught me how to YouTube initially, made his millions in music education. It is not a hard business model, particularly when you're basically a monopoly. Who was Swiss Beatbox other than Swiss Beatbox? People talk about Codfish, but Codfish wasn't a business. Codfish wasn't an entity. Codfish could have offered lessons, but not at scale. Yeah, and you better believe that Boss kicked them some money.
You know, just really hateful, immature stuff. And it's hard for me to say it out loud. It's hard for you to probably hear. He was very intimidated by your power, you know, and you stood up. You are the only one in the core team that ever stood up to him in any way, I think, at times, even though the way you did was respectful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there was one point, I think it was in 2017 or 18, when he found the company that I stood up and said, I can't accept that we don't get shares. He told us,
I
was founding a company, I'm the owner of this company, you have no shares on this. And I was absolutely disagreeing with this because I was still owning like the rights for what I've created there. And for a lot of projects, he didn't pay me at all. And for a lot of projects, he paid me way below what I would normally charge if I would know that I don't have shares on something.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
yes.
So this was the moment when I was standing up for my own rights, and I told him I can't accept this. And that's why his mind shifted, where he was like, okay, Madox asks for too much right now. I need to get rid of this guy.
He pushed you out the door by doing things he knew you wouldn't like. He's very manipulative. He's smart enough with people and he's patient enough with people that he wanted to basically make you miserable until you left instead of asking you to leave.
So okay. Two sides of this. One, let's talk about like telling someone they're difficult to work with. The person I worked with when I did the nonprofit sacrificed a lot. And there was, you know, he was doing, he had prescriptions for some drugs, but they, You know, they were prescriptions that he basically needed because he was working his full-time job and he was doing the nonprofit. And they had a negative effect. And we had some really loud, messy argument disagreements. I mean, medication fueled exhaustion on both of our ends. And you know what I did? The next day, I gave him a high five because you're in the fucking trenches. I'm not saying that you should accept someone, you know, berating you like that, but the idea that you cannot tolerate someone challenging you is insane. They are the sixth largest channel in all of Switzerland. The company itself is valued at 3 million, and they have close to zero overhead because they're making it off of submitted videos. Thank you, Drop Barracuda, for these insights here. Why would you kick somebody out who's self-actualizing? You have an insane 30 video playlist that you could easily monetize. This doesn't make sense. Listen, I want a business opportunity so grand that I could fuck it up 50% of this. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I want to hear his side. I 100% I want to hear his side because I am sure there were difficulties and challenges. But it kind of, I gotta tell you, it's like, this is one of those things where competition kills. Someone's gonna come along who does it better. And first mover advantage is real. If someone comes along and they do it better, they have to do it like 10 times better. But that doesn't seem that hard, what I'm hearing right now. And it sucks. I don't like hearing this.
But he did not want you there. And so it was so uncomfortable for me and other people like Sinjo. It was terrible because anytime you weren't on a call, he was just always talking shit on you. And like, it's just, I'm not saying this to stir the pot. I'm saying it as another example of that's not how you lead people.
That's not how you interact.
Do let someone go if you feel there's a conflict. There's an appropriate way of doing that.
Listen to how careful and tactful she's being too, right? She's like, well, you know, he called me a whore and a dumb bitch. And the guy I'm talking to, he said, you know, I can't work with you and I'm going to underpay you and you need to leave. And, you know, like, she is being as generous as anybody could ever be, given the accusations, given what she is saying. You can't get more generous than this. This is insane to me.
You know, and he just wouldn't follow. He will not follow best practice standards for business ethics. He wants to do things his way, even if it hurts himself and other people. It's very strange.
It's so crazy to hear, you know, because it's like, when we started, it was a project between friends. And I was counting him as one of my best friends. And I never could believe that he would do something like this to me. So that's also like why I was like doing work for Swiss Beatbox kind of blindfolded without having a contract, because I was always believing this is a project that we do for the community and we are friends, and he would never rip me off.
I don't know that he knows how to have a real friend.
Well, now we're getting personal.
I think he's sick, to be honest. And I think it's kind of like one of the dangers of growing up in social media, you know.
I'm sure this has a tremendous amount of legitimacy, but this goes beyond the scope of what I want to cover. it is not abnormal for people who are just doing a thing together to make a business out of it, and then it becomes a thing. But it is for those for whom business starts that way, it often goes south. There's a saying in startups, you're married to your business partner. Like, it's a marriage, and you should treat it like that. It's a very, very, very serious decision to go into business with somebody, and they were young. They were young. These are like while they're doing this, they're in their teens, for God's sakes, and it didn't start with a multi-million-dollar company. So, like, I don't know. I don't hear anyone saying like, "Oh, you should have made sure there was a contract." In that situation, I don't think you would think that. I wouldn't have.
That's when I started to create videos. But back then there was not a lot of options. But I had a conversation with Shazam, who back then already started doing reaction videos, and I was like, maybe that's something I can do, but I want to put a twist on it. I don't want to look like I'm copying Shazam right now.
Yeah.
So that's when I started doing analysis videos. And it picked up really quickly. I felt like, oh, the community likes it. They value what I do right now. But it didn't take long until there was like a big backlash from Swiss Beatbox. Like the first video I had like already like 50K, 100K. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. People value what I do. I have to do more stuff like that. I did a second video. It was an analysis of a battle of codfish, which, by the way, I produced the original video myself. And so back then I was aware, okay, I'm the owner of the video product
that
so
you're analyzing. Yeah.
I can use it 100%. I don't need to get the confirmation of Swiss Beatbox. Otherwise, I would have done it. And then there was not even a claim like saying, yo, please take this video down. That was straight up a strike. My channel got striked. The video got taken down.
So let me be very clear, because there is a massive difference between a claim and a strike. There are three things that can happen. One, revenue share is one thing that can happen. Is that you see someone using your content and you do a revenue share. You say, okay, I own that, but I'm willing to let you use it, and so we're going to split the revenue 50-50. The other one is a claim where you're like, this is mine. I get all the money from this. And then the third is a strike. And a strike actually doesn't make business sense. It's vindictive. A strike disables your channel. It disables your channel. And if you get 3 strikes, you lose not your channel. You lose your ability to make YouTube channels into perpetuity. 3. That is why most people, almost everybody, and I wish I knew this. I got a copyright content warning for some nonsense, and I didn't challenge it. But if you're listening right now, and if you're a business person and you're using YouTube and you ever get a strike, you challenge the fuck out of it immediately, because at least then it's in limbo. The thing that sucks is the money that he was probably going to pay Madox. Well, now he can hire a lawyer to fight Madox for that stupid amount of money that he got a strike for, because it's the only way to combat a strike. You have to make it a legal battle. When you fight a strike, it's a game of chicken. Who has the better lawyers? Who's willing to fight it out? There's a reason that H3 has the adoration of so many people, because they made fair use viable on YouTube. That was the case. That was the landmark case that put YouTube in contention and copyright on YouTube in contention. A strike is vindictive. It makes no business sense. He could have made all the revenue from that money, all the money from that video. Every penny of it, he could have just claimed it, but he didn't. He said, I don't want that. Not only do I not want that money, I don't want that video to exist. That's insanity.
and I was in danger of losing my channel.
Yeah.
I couldn't do live streams back then, which was a big deal for me.
Well, and a strike is a big deal. People need to understand the difference between a claim and a strike, because a claim is someone has an issue with your content. Maybe you used their audio track or their routine without your permission, or an image without your permission. And it's an issue that needs to be resolved, and YouTube will make sure it's resolved. But YouTube has a hard rule that if you get 3 strikes, they take your channel down.
No, they take your not only your channel. You cannot
they
make
just
a YouTube
delete it,
channel.
and
You
everything
can't
you worked for is
make
gone.
another
So
channel.
for Paponi to get so jealous, and I remember the first video you talked about. Oh yeah, we had a whole meeting about it, how jealous he was. And then the second video had to strike you because you're making all his money. That's his money. And but were we doing that to any other reaction video people? No.
My first reaction was not reaching out to Papuni. My first reaction was to reach out, maybe volunteer of Swiss Beatbox, asking him, yo, you still have access to YouTube, to the channel. Can you please check what happened there? Everyone was kind of acting like, yo, we don't know what happened. I think it was a mistake by YouTube. YouTube was taking down your video. And after doing a quick research, I found out YouTube would never do this.
No.
It has to be done.
YouTube doesn't give enough of a fuck to involve themselves in this. YouTube is as hands-off as you can possibly be because they are so at scale. They are basically like, listen, like this is a complaint on YouTube that so many even massive creators have. That's you, like hot potato. That's what YouTube does to creators. It was a YouTube mistake. YouTube doesn't give a fuck. YouTube doesn't claim shit, or not. They don't strike shit. They have an auto content ID recognizer, but even that doesn't get that doesn't lead to strikes. The only way to get a strike is the copyright owner has to claim it and say this is a violation of my copyright. My intellectual property has been violated. That is what you do when you make a strike. Fucking ridiculous.
By the owner of the channel.
Yes. And he gave me the right to sign in as the owner. And he made me do it and said, yeah, do this or I'm not going to pay you for a whole month.
So he forced you to do this?
Yes. With a whole month's of salary pointed to my head. Do it or you're out of a job and I'm not going to pay you. And I was in Switzerland.
And he could have done it.
There are people on who watch this who are a little younger. Let me explain the gravity of that. This woman's a mother, clearly from her accent. She's in the United States. The United States doesn't have like good social like netting and like ways to stop people from like obliterating their entire lives. When she says gun to head, it is a matter of pretty much life and death in the United States. It is to that. Poverty is lethal in the United States. And she has children. I mean, my first instinct would have been to be like, okay, and then reach out to literally anybody else that I could possibly work with, which is probably what she did. Let's let her continue this.
Himself, right? Like
but he wouldn't do it because he knew it was wrong, and he wanted me to do it, and he likes to involve someone else in his bad behavior usually. I was devastated. That was like the weirdest, and I feel ashamed that I didn't take a stand. I didn't say no, that's not right, and walk away. But as a single mom, I just couldn't afford. I was scared, and I was sitting at the table in his house, and I felt so, I don't know, weak and threatened, I guess, that I just did it. And I remember feeling bad.
For you, it was pretty much like, either I take this video down or I can't pay my rent next month.
Yeah, and I lost my job. And he was circling the table saying a lot of mean stuff to me, like, you worked hard to be a part of our community, and once you leave Swiss Beatbox, you'll be nothing. No one cares anything about you. And, just really, really working it, I'm not going to pay for your flight home. Good luck seeing your daughter. He always brought my daughter into it. Really upset. He knew how to make me cry with throwing her name out there. But anyway, very dark, coercive control tactics.
I'm so sorry
it's very surprising.
Yeah.
So I'm so sorry because I just feel like we never even had a proper talk about what really happened. It's just, and it is emotional for me because I care about you.
I mean, I understand because you had the pressure of like.
This is the kind of conversation that happens in retrospect to people that are abused. Like if you go watch like siblings who reconnect who had abusive parents, like this is how that conversation goes. And I don't want to be fucking dramatic about it. That is what it is. That's what it is. You're playing with people's livelihoods. You're playing with a mother and her daughter. That's so fucked.
Like I can't talk freely to Madox right now because I'm gonna lose my job if he knows what happened actually.
There's a lot of things I did in your direction that I regret, to be honest. But they were on his behalf, and I was trying to do to create the structure the CEO wanted. Mm-hmm. I was trying to do it in a way that I wanted and we agreed on, which was high level of business ethics using the principles and procedures of behavioral science. He used to talk about that all the time. Oh, you're a behavioral scientist. Well, yeah, you got to use he actually never let me do my job to create what we tried to create.
Yeah.
So weird.
I don't see her as a timid person. I believe she was with a toxic work environment. To me, if she's looking for him to let her off the hook for her part, which is the right thing to do in the long run. But God, I hate that it has to be like this. Fucking right? Someone in the chat making a good point that, like, for her to basically impromptu ask for forgiveness, basically, to say, like, this is the situation I'm in. I'm so sorry. I harmed you. And that being, this is not a timid woman. This is a powerful woman who has Coca-Cola contacts. Listen, okay, all right. My channel, all right, listen, okay. Let me take this tragic life event and let me take this tragic community and life event and just say, if you have Coca-Cola contacts, I'm just saying, all right? Am I being a whore right now? Yes. I am 100% being a business whore. All right? I will take this dirty, messy, terrible situation and be like, listen, let's talk about sponsors. Because that's what a business does. And yeah, it's ethically, like, absolutely abhorrent, but he didn't even have to do that. Poponi didn't have to go up and be like, listen, I know you're going through a lot right now, but sponsors. She was in the room. He had her in the room on his side. God damn, what I would kill for that. By the way, don't sponsor me. I'm not ready yet. That pressure is a little bit too much. I need to get a little more workflow. I just probably fucked myself because someone's going to come in 2 years later and be like, oh, whatever. I gotta see if that video took because I've been getting messages. I'm so mad that come back to this. Someone, he had her in the room. Right didn't even do it in the long run, but God, I hate that it has to be like this. It shouldn't have ever been like this. This is somebody who is sick. Biggest D in the room. That's, let's say what it is. This is a great comment. The person with the Coca-Cola contacts is the person who has the big dick energy in the room. That is the person that when they go like, I can talk to Coca-Cola, that is like, oh shit, can I give you a foot massage? Like, that's the kind of shit you do because it's Coca-Cola money. It's the biggest sponsor in the world. Let's actually look at the spending. It might actually be the case that Coca-Cola is the biggest sponsor in the world. Oh, but this is just limited to... Interesting, Wells Fargo. Okay, number 11. Still, that's insane. Let's get that on the screen here. The 11th ranked highest paying sponsor in the fucking world. Rank 11. Responsible for damn near 1% of all ad buy in the fucking world. Are you serious? God damn it. Like, oh my God. Do I have dollar? Am I salivating dollar signs right now? Should I like check my complexion? Why, as a business owner, wouldn't you be like, well, that's a fucking opportunity? How do you fucking make that mistake? They have been for decades. Yeah. Or at least like in the top 10, which is still same conclusion, right? Yeah, Coke, like that's one of the names that I always hear, like when esports started, like when esports was happening with StarCraft 2 getting released, like, you know, all of a sudden Coca-Cola was coming around, all these big ass sponsors were coming around, and like for the esports community at that point, like that's how we felt like it was actually becoming real. You know, when I competed in esports, it was like for not even, oh God, it was like $100 a tournament. It was so dumb. I remember Artosis. There's an interview with Artosis, who's a StarCraft commentator who was a professional player. And he was like, I would save up money from bagging groceries to go train for months. Like, that's what we did. So when Coca-Cola came around and when all these big sponsors came around, it was real and it was treated very seriously. And yeah, so the idea that you just let that go is insane to me. Because he's not the first person to run a business that started out as a grassroots, really important movement. He's not the first person to do that. That is not an excuse. Yeah, if Coca-Cola is willing to be a sponsor and you don't fucking stop everything to make that a reality, you're out of your fucking mind.
I had a similar experience, right? He also didn't want to bring my ideas inside. He always just wanted me to execute exactly what he wants.
To him, that's success or something. Yeah, it's so strange. Yeah. So somewhere along the line, and I think this is a good principle to learn. You know, that like, because the adventures started out as friends, and then there became a situation where power and money was now at play, right, on the table.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to build a real company or a real project with your friends, you have to start out and do the right business tactics right out the gate. You have to have contracts, agreements that are fair.
Yep.
You have to make sure to do that, or else people will, it's inevitable. Once the money and the power get enough, someone ends up acting this way, just in my experience, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So before we move on to the next topic, I have
that's one thing. Sorry, as someone who had like people by the balls on contracts, I had, so when I did my non-profit, same idea. I was like, this has to be done right. So I got my stepfather does military contracts. He negotiates with the United States government for military contracts. So the language is, it's, you know, like he gave me like 40-page contracts. I had like the rights to everyone's image. Like I had people by the balls. I never used that. There were instances where I leveraged that to fight off I felt what I felt were like extortions. But that's it. Like I still ended up paying out those people that were trying to extort money from me, because it wasn't about me, it wasn't about a business, it was about the cause. And like I said, I still fucked up, but like, yeah, you got to have those contracts. You got to have them. Don't do shit without contracts. And I'm sorry that these people did it, because this happens. It does. And it sucks. I'm not blaming them. This sucks. It's just bad.
Ask, because a lot of people were like confused about the assumptions that Spencer X did in the previous video. And I want to say sorry that I couldn't correct him, but honestly, I have no clue how much at the end Swiss Beatbox really was making, or at the end how much Pepuni was really making. So that's why I acted passively in this video when Spencer X was making the assumptions, because I was like, it can be right, it can be wrong, I have no clue, but this is how it looks to the outside. And
yeah,
so I wanted to ask you, like an event like GBB with like all the revenue that the video would make, the income of the sponsors, like is there like a roundabout, like a number that you can throw in what an event like GBB 2019 would make?
You know, a big bulk of the income is from YouTube. And the thing that Spencer misspoke on, and he may have just honestly misspoke, I think because he's an American and he's able to see all his ad money and all of his ad data running through the American views. Well, a huge bulk of like especially 2019 views from on Swiss Beatbox content really came from like Indonesia and other places around the world that are more poor. And so each one of those views is not worth the same dollar or euro, amount as an American view. So if Swiss Beatbox had all American views or all Western world views, and I'm sorry guys, just business stuff. I hate to say all this way, but it's just the way it is.
No, it's 100%. Like the highest companies will pay the highest money for the demographic, which has the most money. America's the richest country in the world. That's where the money goes. It's not always the case. I think in some instances, Switzerland, there are some other countries that I think the UK will, on my channel, like there are outliers, like some videos get a lot of views in the UK and that will be more profitable than people watching in the United States. But there's a reason I like my gospel content and like, Chloe and Halle and like very American artists, it's not even close. It's not even close. I stopped being able to make a full-time income when I stopped making that content to make beatbox content. This isn't like a little penny here and there. This is make or break. And so that's why it's really important that we hear her on this.
It is. They would make significantly more money. But when I worked there, which was from the beginning or late 2018 to early 2022, I can talk about months. Okay. Months where we made as little as $10,000 on YouTube. That was like the worst months that I can remember.
The worst months.
Yeah, worst months.
That's bad.
And I've seen months where we made 25, 35, 50 grand. It just depended on the views, right? But I know from GBB 2019, for example, if you just take all of that content and the views and the ad money that's made from that, then you talk about ticket sales, all that stuff. I mean, when you're talking about net profit versus gross, right? Gross is the total amount of money that you're bringing in on that. Peponi always likes to talk about his net. That's how he spent all the money. I like to talk about money first is what's coming in, because how you manage it is how you get to the end. And for a project like that, I mean, if you like Codfish's videos alone, when I went back and just looked at a lot of things, 2018 and 2019, just things like that put together, that is like $250,000, just those videos. And then if you add it to sales and everything, I would say it's like $500,000 probably for 2019.
$500,000 just from the Codfish.
And there's some crazy, and those videos were amazing. And in the views, I remember one of the last days I left Swiss Beatbox, I was looking at a Codfish video still from 2019. It was like an old video. And I was like, oh, still gets 48,000 views today. Every day he's getting views. So Paponi's not rolling in millions of dollars and not paying. But back to what I said earlier, he has built a business that he can't afford to pay people to do their basic stuff. So when is he going to pay people? When is he going to be able to afford to pay people?
Yeah, that was also my question. He was like,
when?
I'm throwing expensive events. I have to pay people to do their work. That's why I can't pay you. And I was like, yeah, but you're paying others. When you pay no one, what are your expenses then? His
food, his craft beer, him flying around the world. Honestly, he was foolish.
$500,000 for GBB 19, and he couldn't even upfront pay me $5,000. He was paying me, I think, 3 rates over the whole year. Because like I'm so short on money, I can't afford to pay you everything at once, which was a big problem back then for me, because while I was producing for GBB, I couldn't take as much work outside of Swiss Beatbox. So I had financial issues back then.
I was attempting to help him create business lines with his current products, with merch, with GBB, that you create a business plan or a project plan like we did with the tutorials, right? We created a plan. We sold that idea. Boss bought the idea. They gave us the money. We did it. And if we would have just kept doing that over and over alongside GBB, we would have been fine.
So she makes some really good points here. Okay. So $500,000 it's not that much money when it comes to a business. But when your lead editor and your VP who has a kid, when the people who are making you money are not getting paid and you're getting $500,000, there's no reason why they shouldn't be a consideration, like a massive consideration. And then on top of that, this is the big thing. Mr. Beast makes a fucking killing because, the AdSense, he's been vocal about this, that the AdSense actually doesn't really cover the cost of his videos. That his main channel is a big risk-taking machine. But he offsets his costs. He has a React channel, he has a video game channel, and he has multiple businesses. And you have 2 people, just her by herself, could have project managed one more project, one thing like with Boss and MB14, and have done that one deal a year. And now all of a sudden you can pay somebody that you couldn't before. So there's the question of gross versus net, which she brought up, but then there's the lost opportunity, the opportunity cost that you have to think of as well. So yeah, just to bring to mind that the idea that there was potential income that wasn't capitalized on, that's a very big deal.
Yeah, and it was easy to do, right?
It was easy to do.
I can do such projects twice a month, and this would not only this project without the revenue on YouTube, this would pay me and probably two other employees, and we still wouldn't touch even the YouTube money yet.
I kept using metaphors when I was trying to teach him leadership principles, and something I said to him multiple times, I wish he would have learned this, was I said, Andreas, please stop trying to build a skyscraper overnight. And what I meant by that was he wanted to be the big bad CEO sitting at the high seat at the table. You know, he wanted to be successful. He wanted to have a tall building that he could look around and say, yes, I made it. I did it. I built a successful company. But I told him, I said, what happens when you try to build, you know, a 700-foot structure overnight? It falls apart. It literally just topples.
This is such a hard thing as a business owner to not. This was when I crashed and burned. The reason my nonprofit just absolutely crumbled. I mean, there were a lot of reasons, but my nonprofit crumbled because I didn't take my time. I didn't pace it. We had so much opportunity, and I just wanted to go, and we didn't have to do that. And I paid the price for it in more than one way, but also quite literally. You know, that's a hard one. If Baponi started the business when he was young, that's really hard to have that wisdom, especially when you've had your head in the sand. That's a tough one. But God, if anyone here wants to be a serious content creator or a business person, please hear that lesson. It's the hardest lesson. Shit takes time. And there is all of these stories everyone wants to sell you, books written by major CEOs that talk about validating a business concept in a year. That's not how it works. This is your 10,000 hours, 10 years, 10,000 hours kind of thing. Treat it like that, because that's what it takes to actually grow something real and that's substantial and lasting.
And I kept telling him that. I said, you are rushing to be in charge of this huge company. And my honest recommendation to him as a business developer, I wanted to stop all production for 30 days to fix the company and make it all right, and then go kick ass. Because there were so many problems and dysfunctions with the daily production and the money and not paying people correctly and the whole picture.
Yeah. So in 2021, I had a strike by Swiss Beatbox. Swiss Beatbox took away the strike 3 months after a long fight. I wanted to move on, and I saw, okay, GBB 2021 is happening. Swiss Beatbox is not reaching out to me anymore to produce there. So I was like, okay, I don't want to have bad feelings over this, or I don't want to express bad feelings over this, because I had bad feelings, because I felt like they're stealing my child right now.
You were pushed out the door in a rude way. Anyway,
so I was like, okay, I want to try to ignore what happened and look into the future. I have a new YouTube channel. It starts to work out. People in the community respect me for what I do.
Yeah.
So I want to make a next stepping outside of my studio and come to GBB and collaborate with Swiss Beatbox. And that's why 4 months before the event, I reached out. I remember I reached out to you and to Juliana, because I was not 100% sure who's responsible for things like this. But I was like, guys, I want to come to the event. I want to make content. I want to interview people. I want to make games with them. Please let me know what is possible, what is not. And I always try to show goodwill. Like, I was not expecting any like financial support by Swiss Beatbox at all to do this, because like if you compare it to like other events, people would buy in influencers too.
Sorry guys, speaking of being fucking responsible, I didn't even realize the time. I have a business meeting myself. I don't even know if this person is still give me 1 second here. I'll put this on the stream.